Just remember that when you
Okay, welcome. I got you half drinking there, drinking on the job. Must be a senator. Anyways,
if only.
seafood. You're my senator. Seafood David Ackrish with Black Dragon Modern Combat. I always have to take my time to kind of think that through. And if you're new to the channel, I'll ask later to do all the little subscribe. I try not to do that. I know everyone says to do it. I go against the grain. So I'm not asking you to subscribe. So subscribe.
Yes, but you
Anyways,
should.
I know everybody does. It gets so old. And anyways,
It
so
does.
yeah, I'm
We need
more
your
to
support. That's obvious.
uh,
Duh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, the day has finally come for Mars and the martial artist. Notice that Mar is inside of Mar. Anyways, so Sifu David Ackrish, with the Black Dragon Modern Combat channel on YouTube, thanks to my wife, convinced me to start it. So it's been a few months, and I think this is number 44 on the list. And so I just want to do a little review about the channel, about myself. Actually, what you can do is just watch one of my first, I think it might have been the first, no, it was the second, I believe, video on my 57-year journey of combat, close quarter combat. So, yes, we call it martial arts, but anyways, I am, boy, what can I say? I've been putting out information that one thing I'm trying to do is attempting, I should say, is to go against kind of, I don't want to say go against the grain, but everybody does the same thing, says the same thing. And I used to say that I'm so far in the box, I'm out of the box. Now what I say is there is no box. So I want to give information, ideas that are free form, that are my thoughts, that nobody's programmed into me. And I'm on my own. I'm not affiliated with anyone. And I have, like I said, 57 years. I started when I was 6 years old. I've never stopped. So I always tell people that I've never stopped. And I said this in the other videos that, oh, one guy said to me, I got 20 years of Filipino martial arts. I said, really? And then he said, well, I took a class 20 years ago and I'm starting up again. What the hell kind of rationale is that? What about the time frame in between where you did nothing? So you have
Right.
1 year plus 1 day. I mean, come on, let's just be honest with ourselves. And 20 years
Mhm.
later, you're 20 years older, and you got to keep things going. Keep the blood flowing, the chi flowing, the mind flowing, the spirit, the intent. So I've never stopped. Now that's me. That's because I don't want to stop. I never will. I'm training tonight, on this date. And so, anyways, but one of the things about the school is that it's where tradition becomes evolution. Now, there's more to it than that, but what does that even mean? Tradition becomes evolution. We have to evolutionize who we are, where we're going, where we've been, respect the past, which actually the word respect means, and but move into the future with ideas, with thoughts, with movements, with where things are at, with weapons, with the craziness of the world. And so that's where I'm at. And I'm also just free flowing in my thoughts on everything. And like, oh, never do this to this way, and never do that way, and we only do this, and a bong sao is only to go one way, and it's like, I have 5 different ways to apply a bong sao. It's a movement, and actually, when it comes to I'm listening to these books, and it's funny because when I'm listening to these books, they're actually reflecting my own thoughts, which is amazing because these books are made current, and they're even bringing up, and I've been saying this, YouTube. So when a book brings up the term YouTube, it's pretty current. I mean, it's not back from the 50s or 40s, and the thoughts and ideas are pretty modernized, and one's really modernized, and one's even more modernized on where the world's at and who we are, and approaching. And something I thought about, and I think, I don't know, I heard this, but it was a good one, is that the only true person, and even unto themselves is it true, they probably change within time, but was the person who founded, let's say, an idea or a system or whatever it is. And so every time a different person is doing, say, a kata from some a Japanese system, it's the way they're doing it, and the way they're doing it isn't the way the guy next to him's doing it. So every single person, I thought about this the other night, is doing it a little bit their way, a little bit different. And so, is the system ever really pure? Okay, so that's just a thought. See, these are the thoughts. This is what I like putting out there because people who are very brittle and scared to break away. And I'm not. I have no affiliation. I don't bow to anybody, sometimes to myself, to my wife, but that's it. Actually, to the dogs. If you want to know the truth, that's who we bow. We both bow to the dogs. We are, it's not a cat's world, it's a dog's world, let me tell you.
At least in
So,
this house, it is.
yeah,
Right.
that's for sure. And I'm the
Yeah.
low dog on the totem pole. Actually, the low person on the totem pole was like the strongest one. And you always think like low guy in the totem pole. That's the good guy. That's the guy with the
I
strength.
I know. Yeah.
I know.
The totem poles actually go down. The lowest one is the highest one. Yeah.
So the low guy is
Anyways.
really Atlas holding the world, but
Right. Yeah.
anyways, who cares?
Yeah.
So so what I've done,
And
oh go I'm gonna
I was gonna
finish
say
real
what's
quick.
really interesting just about what you said about yourself is that we can actually explain through all that through astrology. So, anyways, which we'll be getting into here in a
Which is
moment.
awesome. And we're finally here. It's a little bit
Yeah.
late, but we're doing this. So super cool. Anyways, um, just a little bit about the channel some of the stuff I've gone through. It's just about myself, bit of ranting, getting a little teed off, talk about some stories. But I did do, if you're new, I have a 20 key principles of the Mokjong because now people have heard me already know how much I believe in the Mokjong. And my approach to it is I'm realizing so different, at least so far, to a lot of people who have limitations to approaching it and what it's about. I hear people complain, you're not supposed to break the arms off. Yeah, you are actually supposed to break the arms off. If you break the arms off, I'm going to be scared of that person. If hit and go, ow, what it is, then maybe that's a bigger problem. So, anyways, we'll get into that later. I'm going to redo that's again, I'm just saying this because my views are different and they're just I would think they're realistic and grounded in realism opposed to this just I sound cool because I say this or I know more than you. It's like no, I wouldn't. No. And I always say just take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I don't believe I know it all. I do to myself, but if it sounds dumb or stupid, then it sounds dumb or stupid. But I don't think it does. And so was that like circular? That was like pretzel logic right there, circular logic. But I'm just tired of limitations or people following the same old groove that I say becomes a rut. It's like I'm tired of it. This works. This doesn't work. It's like I don't want it. Anyways, I'm really wide open on, and I've done it. I've done so much that I feel like I have a little bit to say about it because I proved at least to myself and Teah knows how long I train constantly. It's just my life. It's probably in the stars and the moon and in the, everything else and the dust of the universe. That's just how I was put together. So I can't even help myself. It's kind of crazy. But but what I've done is the 20 principles of the Mokjong, which really applies to anybody. Someone could just watch it for interest and go, that's just as an interest thing, if you're not doing martial arts, just about yourself, because it is really a philosophy of yourself. It's not about a school or tradition or anybody. It's about you, and which we're going to find out here a little bit. But also, I'm working on why train with weapons, and so I'm a big weapon person. And even though I do a lot of empty hand stuff, that that's what I'm going through now and even giving lessons, which I don't really doesn't what the channel is about, where all these other guys are trying to prove to everybody in their lessons and stuff. And that's cool. And there is one guy I really like, and I asked his permission to use his name because I really want to promote him because I think he's sincere and wonderful, a great teacher, great speaker, and giving really good information. So once he gives me the okay, I'm gonna promote him a bit. But boy, there's not much on YouTube I can say I want to promote. There is a lot, and I've been saying there's a lot of Filipino stuff that I like, but the people seem to be much more humble and showing you some really cool stuff. I saw just some great stuff on the stick I don't like call it fighting, just whatever, but the Filipino martial arts. So that's what I'm working on now is the Filipino martial arts stuff that I'm doing. And it's really an intro for weapon training. So everybody wants to get into that, they can go back and look at it. Uh, anyways, I think that's it. So we're finally here, and I want to introduce my wife, Teah Akrish, and she's going to go over. Well, I'll let her talk about where things are at, and she can say anything she wants. The, this is her realm right now, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so my name is Teah. I am David's wife. We've been married for how long has it been, honey? 22 years? 20,
Coming
30
up on
years?
23, yeah.
Yeah, a
2025
long
will be,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we've been together since
And
2000, so 25 years, even
yeah,
longer, but that's cool.
and we co-own where we are Chinese medicine herbalists, clinical Chinese medicine herbalists. Heaven and Earth is our business. But at this point in my life, I am studying to become a certified astrologer. And I've been in it for about a year, and it's probably going to take me a couple more years. But I am also a martial art enthusiast. David has taught me quite a bit over the years. I feel very confident in my ability to kick ass. um, and so, but yeah, I want to promote martial arts. I think this is a fascinating topic, which is Mars and the martial artist. And Mars, of course, obviously is a planet. There are 10 planets in astrology. For counting the nodes, there are 12. Mars is just one component to who we are, but I wanted to focus on it because Mars really does represent martial arts and muscles and strength and activity, exercise. We'll get a little bit more into this, but to talk about how this aspect of who we are, especially as it pertains to martial arts, and how does astrology reveal these interesting things about ourselves, and it's because it's really about a tool to understand ourselves better. So
Can
and
I interrupt you?
Mars is,
Can I
yeah,
interrupt you for 1 second? I didn't even say that. I asked Tia to go over to bring astrology into because this is again about the channel going places, that other people really don't go. So I've never really seen anything like this, maybe a little bit, but not directly on a self-defense, combat, whatever you want to call it, channel,
mm-hmm.
which is my channel. Uh, so that's what this is about. And I also want you to, Tia, if you want to bring up your teacher and give her a plug and all that, if you want
Sure.
to. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm studying with Ksenia Moore, who's the founder of the Royal Stars Academy in Australia, and great teacher. Love it, love it, love it. And it's really interesting because we're using a lot of Vedic and Western um, techniques. So it's fascinating stuff. And that's what I want to say is like, this is real astrology. So I don't want to give people like a false impression. Because the truth is about astrology is that you, as an energetic being, are really a combination of many factors and how these factors are relating to one another. And so when you take something like Mars and you really isolate it, it really is not enough to get a really deep insight into who you are, but it can give you some great insights. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it because Mars, and let me actually kind of fast forward through this here. Um, I guess I should have. Okay, Mars, the archetype of Mars is a superhero and the warrior. And it is, let's see here. Okay, here we go. It's a male and external energy. And so it doesn't, I don't want to get into the like woke stuff or anything like that, because reality is reality, right? And our gender is our gender. But when you were talking about people, and people are complex, we have both yin and yang. We have male and female. We have internal, external components to who we are. And Mars is the male external component. And so Mars is representative of our energy at its core and the fuel, what really fuels a human being. So our passions and our ambitions, and how that relates to the self. So the Mars is actually your literal ability to it's your will for and your individuality and your ability to exercise and to your own motivation for yourself. So it's a very interesting energy. It's very independent. It's self-initiative. So action, um, how you interact with the world, even exercise and your physicality is seen through Mars. Um, it's what drives us. So the quality of your Mars is what drives us, where we're likely to be impulsive, how we can get out of a rut in life, and an ability to assert yourself. What energizes us, the ability to use your willpower, and how upfront and direct you will be. And so the ultimate question that we're really asking here is, what kind of martial artist are you? What kind of warrior are you?
Can
What
I?
kind of superhero are you? Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna try not to interrupt too much, but that was the what I asked Tia to go over is like, could the stars or the planets or astrology tell us a little more of like maybe I'm in the wrong place. And we're not here to tell anybody anything other than give information. That's me. I don't tell you to do what style to do or what not to do, or if that's up to you to figure out. I give you my opinion and my thoughts, and that's what this is just to feed information. And that's what we do with Chinese medicine. You just feed information. You decide what you want. And most people hear
Mm-hmm.
about Chinese when we explain it, they go, why didn't anybody ever out, well, because Chinese medicine is unlike anything else. And once you understand and connect the dots, you just it all makes sense to you and you want to do it and then you trust us. But that's what I
Mm-hmm.
was asking Tia from the very beginning is what this is about is that just are you where do you fit in or does
Yeah.
Mars help you to understand where you might be maybe in the wrong. I don't want to say you're in the right. If you're in the right place and then you're in the right place, but maybe you're not in the right
Mm-hmm.
place, or maybe you feel a certain way, but you're doing something else, and maybe those things aren't gelling. So I thought that was the initial reason for all of this.
Yeah.
So at least in my
And
heart, but then it went to really put a lot into this and went further. I would say
yeah,
in a bit, and I'm glad because information is power and knowledge is
right.
power. So
Yeah. And astrology is an amazing tool to understand yourself. Like I'm just totally floored. Um, it's been something I've been fiddling around with for like the past 10 years as I've been dealing with some of my own personal problems, and it has helped me immensely. And so we can definitely look at astrology and the planets and the quality of your Mars, where it's placed, the zodiac sign, the house sign, and get an understanding of you as an individual and your motivation. And so and maybe why you're doing martial arts or what's important to you, trying to reveal hidden things like your hidden motivations, or uh, you know if you're a foot soldier, or if you're a leader or a teacher or an innovator or a traditionalist. These are all things that the planets are going to have like a major resonance uh, to who you are and how you think and how you initiate. And so that's where I wanted to share, like, we're talking about some of these ideas, and really simplify it to hopefully help you understand yourself better in relation to martial arts and your physical activity. So, um, okay, so should we get a little bit into it now?
yeah, the other thing I want to say is I I see the Chinese medicine, martial arts, astronomy. I forgot there was something else I totally forgot, but they're all connected. It's all a connection. Things aren't separated, but they all are who we are, what we're doing, how why I think we have problems, why we don't. They all are giving their ability to give us answers to who we are. And it was funny as before any of this, I was using 5 different ideas for my school, and one of them was planetary movements. It's just interesting um, that, and then we're getting deeper into this, after over the years. But that was one of my areas was actually movements of the planets, and so it's and that's good. Then we're getting deep into this, and it's very very interesting to me. So it doesn't surprise me,
Mhm.
but it's helped me. I and we're going to go over some charts, which is cool, super cool.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I said that I asked Tia to use my chart. It's like why I've created my own system, broken away and of but then I follow system. So it's I'm oh what I was gonna say is for me is finding out that because everybody so there's a confusion on when you think what you are, and this was a new thing for me. Like I'm an Aries, and I thought I was because it's a sun sign, but it's not really the tip of the
Hmm.
iceberg in a sense where I'm a Libra. Then it all made sense. I'm like, what? After all these years, my whole
Right.
life, you think you're one thing,
Yeah.
you know, or you see these people do
Yeah.
this their DNA test. They thought they were Scottish and they were really Polish, or it's what the hell? I'm going to start eating, I'm Russian pierogies, and I don't know. So
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
interesting to see that shift. So, anyways,
And just on that note, there's something called the primal triad in astrology, which is your sun sign is a part of, but you also needed to. There's two other really important factors with your personality, and that is the moon sign and your rising sign. In fact, out of all three of those, the sun is actually the weakest sign. And so the rising sign is actually the most important. And so David is a Libra rising, even though he has an Aries sun and a Leo moon. So he's got a lot of fire, but he has a lot of air too. And so that has a lot to do with his martial arts and how communicative he is and how much he likes to teach. So so what we're doing today, let's see here. Oh, and a couple of things I wanted to mention is that planets have qualities. So your Mars is going to have a quality to it. And that has a lot to do with the zodiac sign that it's in and any kind of other relationships it has to planets. And so and really your rising sign and everything else. So combust, cazimi, fall, detriment, direct, retrograde, station, rulership, conjunctions, trines, oppositions, all of these things matter. Okay. So if anything I'm saying is not resonating, um, but you probably don't know what your Mars sign is, and that's the thing is we see if we were like maybe Star Trek, how there's the Worf, I forget what kind of species he is. He's
Klingon.
a Klingon, right? Maybe if we were Klingons, maybe we would just define ourselves by our Mars sign, right? Like what kind of warrior, because they're like this huge warrior archetypal society. We could just as easily define ourselves by our Venus sign if we wanted. And so there's a lot of emphasis on the sun sign, but really we're a mix of everything, and we have different emphases on things. So here we are, to try and understand Mars with martial arts, because Mars does symbolize martial arts and everything else that goes with martial arts. So
So
I just want to note, just want to make sure people understand that. um and see, here's another picture. See all of these things: Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Everybody's everything, and it just has to do with how it's almost like everybody's a song, and you have different emphases or different, it's like you take music, right? And there's really only 12 notes, but they're different keys, modes, and paces, and emphases, so on and so forth, right? So we're all unique songs, even though we're all dealing really with the same components. And
so
so
Tia, can
so
I
here's
interrupt
my
for
astro. Yeah.
can I interrupt so to be clear, because this is I'm learning, it's
Hmm.
what Tia's talking about is the moment you come out of your mother and take your first breath, where that it's not like things are changed. I mean, things can change every day, but we're talking about that moment where the
Hmm.
planet is, the different planets in the different zodiacs across the sky. There's 12 of them. So
Right.
where okay,
Yes.
so my
Yeah.
Mars uh was
Right.
where was my Mars when I
Your Mars is in Cancer.
okay, well, okay, so
Yeah.
it's where the
Yeah.
planet and that amount of time differs with the different planets because they're moving faster, like Mercury, or further out, like Saturn or Uranus or Neptune, or Pluto. Really is moving so slow, right? Am I getting too deep into it? I'm just saying where you're.
No.
What? All right, I'll be
Yeah,
quiet.
yeah. So all of the planets matter, right? And they're all interrelating, and they all represent different aspects to ourselves, including like there's personal planets and then there's societal planets, right? So there's planets that actually will represent different aspects of society, like how society restricts you and how society expands you, and and planets that are more mental and spiritual. So it's really fascinating when you start looking into how like a whole natal chart and how it all combines. But yeah, so I just want to note like, so today actually what we're doing, because I want things to be as clear as possible, and I'm going to scroll through this a little faster, okay, is I want to talk more about the element that your Mars sign is in. So each zodiac sign is part of one of four elements, and these elements have really strong propensities and dispositions. And so, and really, if you look at your whole elemental mix of all the different elements that your planets are in, it'll give you a really good idea into who you are. And so that's where I wanted to keep things really general and hopefully easy and simple. And part of it is like, say your Mars is in a water sign, like yours is, and so is mine, by the way. But when we look at the whole balance of the elements that all the planets are in, it really helps to give you a really good picture to who you are. And so you might have your Mars in a water sign, but have a whole lot of air with all of your other planets. And so then there's this whole overall balance that we need to take into consideration. And it might be that you actually experience a little bit of a conflict internally because your Mars has a specific interface, way it wants to interface with the world, but your other natures are very airy and fast and maybe mental, right? But your Mars is water, which wants to respond and not to initiate. So there, it's really interesting when you start looking at your elemental balance, because it can really help you start to understand ways where you're congruent within yourself, but maybe ways where you're also challenged and struggling because part of you wants to do things this way and another part of you wants to do things that way. So I just want to also help people to understand that there is going to be a whole overall balance. Like me, myself, I have a whole lot of water. But David is very dynamic and balanced and has a lot of air, but he has a lot of fire. And then he has this grand trine in water. So, and then his Atmacarica planet, which is his sole purpose planet, is actually Saturn in an Earth sign, and it's in that Earth sign, it's in rulership, so it's very strong there. So then he has this really strong Earth element. So David is very balanced when you look at his chart, and he has a little bit of everything. And whereas me, I'm like really like almost one-sided, and I have all this water and I have all this mutable.
So hold on now.
So
Now hold
yeah.
on, hold on. So you laughed at me earlier. I'm not trying to be a civilian astrologist. I'm just saying that, well, let me ask you a question. So Mars is moving through the different, because I find it fascinating that I didn't even know
Mhm.
this, that the planets, I finally, because simple things like Chinese medicine can be so complicated. So the planet's
Right.
moving around in a circle and it's going through
Yeah.
different um,
Right.
zodiac signs. And
Yeah.
so, cool. Yeah,
So
it's kind of, can you shift it a little? It's glaring. Turn it more towards you. Yeah, that's too much. Right there. Right there. Oh,
here.
don't move. So,
So the
so
planets
how
are
long?
shifting. They're going in a circle. We're in the middle,
Okay,
right?
so
So the
how
planets are
long
moving.
does Mars stay in one sign?
Typically around 6 to 7 weeks, but right now we're in a retrograde period, and this whole process of a Mars going retrograde is actually going to last about 9 months. So it's really intense. So Mars moves through all of the zodiacs every 2 years. That's its cycle.
Okay, it takes
But
2 years to get through all. Okay.
yeah, but in that 2 year process, it's going to go through a retrograde period. And what happens, the planets are moving through everything. they're moving through all of the zodiacs, right? But then there's a point that, from our point of view, it looks like it stops and then goes backwards and then starts moving forward again. And so that whole process takes 9 months. And so it's a very manifesting time period, because it's going through a sign or whatever points. And I think it's about 20 degrees on the whole. So it's almost a whole sign. Right now we're going through that period, which is actually, it's going through Cancer and then into Leo a little bit and then back into Cancer again. Um, and so what happens during this period is it really slows down. It just goes, and it stops. And then it goes retrograde, and then it goes back in direct again, and it starts gaining speed again. So it's very intense. And a lot of what's happening with the world right now, with the fires and terrorist attack and so on and so forth, I think a lot of this is Mars retrograde period. And if you have Mars retrograde in your chart, it's very different than Mars going direct. And so those are really interesting things to know about yourself. And martial arts is a great thing to do if you have Mars retrograding in your chart. So, um, but yes, so all these different
At,
colors
at the
on the
time,
wheel. I'm
at
sorry,
the
go ahead.
time at the time you're born, that's what you're saying?
Right, yes. And of course,
Okay.
so at the moment you're born, including the time, and so that's one thing that's really important. If you really want to know what's going on with your chart, you need to know the time, but you don't have to. And when we go into the section looking at different charts, we're actually going to look at Itman, whose time we don't know. But you can still know what zodiac sign your Mars is in and all of your other planets, but you won't know the house system. And so anytime you look at a chart, there's actually two charts you're looking at. So this has all of the zodiac signs. Okay, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, sorry,
Cool.
Leo, right? But the point is that when you look at a chart, this axis here never changes. And so it's actual the spatial area of the earth, and it has to do with whatever sign was on the rising, on the eastern horizon, rising on the eastern horizon when you were born, and that's your rising sign. And so it's super duper uber important. And see, me, like when I would read like the crappy horoscopes like in a newspaper, I have both my sun and moon in Pisces. So I'm a very strong Pisces. I actually have a stellium in Pisces. So I go, yeah, that's pretty accurate. But I'm a Cancer rising, which is another water sign. And it's been like this fascinating thing. It's like this whole other side that I didn't really understand about myself. And it was like, just like, aha, when I learned about my rising sign. So it was, for me,
So
is a wonderful discovery moment. So,
I
yeah.
want to go back a step. So you said when you were born, and if Mars
Mm-hmm.
was in retrograde when you were born,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a good possibility that martial arts or combat or even being a soldier or
Mm-hmm.
something is going to be pretty strong
Yeah.
in
So
your being.
any planet that's retrograde is stronger. And
It's
so,
enhanced. Interesting.
yeah. And so when you were born, it's a snapshot, and it's like this energetic snapshot of who you are. But the
Yeah.
planets do move; they do change, and so, but that initial energy is going to interact with the transits, as they're called. So how the planets are moving right now, and so like if you have Mars and Cancer, like you do with this transit, your Mars is actually going to be activated, and you're going through what's called the Mars return, right? And so I'm a Cancer rising, so Mars is also really affecting me because my rising sign is Cancer. And so there's been a lot of things that have been happening to me related to this particular transit of how Mars is moving through the system right now. So, but you do change, and there are
Hmm.
a lot of different ways of understanding those things, perfections and transits, your solar return. So I don't want to get too into that. This is more about your natal energy, not so much about how that's changing. But yes, it does change over time, and
By the way,
it does change a lot. So
the
yeah,
wheel that Tia was holding up was created by Ksenia, so I thought that was
yes,
her
yes.
teacher. So I thought that it's a
It's a
cool thing. It's a magnet.
it's a super cool tool. I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So once again, we're just talking about Mars, though, even though all kinds of other stuff and other
Hmm.
elements and all that, but still, we can still look at that planet
Right.
in your chart, your
Hmm.
natal chart is
Yeah. Hmm.
just
Hmm.
as one piece of the pie and kind of an
Right.
important one because Mars is the warrior planet. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
as far as we're concerned with martial
Right.
art, combat, soldiers,
Right.
civilians, police,
Right.
even I'll say
Yeah.
fire, as a
Hmm.
paramedic, I saw more action. I saw a lot of action that was very, combat
Hmm.
oriented, I'll be honest. But anyway, so go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. And
I'm trying not to
so
interrupt too much. I'm trying not to.
like Venus is your passion, so it's like your internal aspect, like what you are, what you love, right? But Mars is your action. It is how you interact with the world. It's so this is where we're getting into like the different qualities. If you find it easy to interact with the world, or if you find it difficult, if you know maybe you love martial arts. Maybe you're somebody who ends up going back and forth in martial arts. You're in it sometimes, you're not in it other times, right? And that would be a specific quality that would be very interesting to understand. And of course, you know, there's all sorts of things. Maybe you love talking about martial arts, or maybe like a big motivator for you in learning martial arts is the school. And you need to be a part of a school. You're not a solo artist, so to speak, where you're the hermit and you're on your own spiritual journey, right? You need to be part of a group, and you need that social aspect to it. So that would be more of an air element, right? So these are the kinds of things that are interesting. But yes, it's our warrior energy. It's how we fight. It's what we're willing to fight for, and even how we like to exercise. So it is our literal expression with the world. So
For me, it's such a dire need to teach. I mean, you know more than anyone. It drives
I
me
do.
insane not to really be in a school or to be social and that was fine. And I liked it when some of the schools I was in,
Hmm.
I had some good friends in there. But
Right.
even in the end, even if there was 30 people in the school or 40, I felt like I'm on my own, doing my own thing, doing forms, my own training,
Hmm.
my own advancement, and
Right.
accelerating who I am and so
Right.
whatever. So
Would you say it was have a spiritual quality to it?
yeah, with of course, yes, without a doubt,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
powerful. It was more
Right.
like cheek. I mean, clearing of energy and feeling
Mhm.
this immense amount of energy, especially in the Charlie Fut School, was the energy was so powerful that I would
Mhm.
leave and just I always told you I could feel like I could walk through a wall or break a wall down or not in a negative or violent way, just the strength of flow of chi
Right.
and
The
it
power. Yeah.
of
Mhm.
clarity. And
Mhm.
um, I craved it. I still do. But it took so much work. Those classes were 3 hours. And I,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that's what mattered to me. And I just, it was like I was on I don't know, like plugged into the wall, like a machine that you plug into the wall
Mhm.
and and that was it. There was nothing that was going to. Oh, what I was going to say is even with the social aspect, I that didn't matter as much as what I had to do accomplish, and I accomplished a lot. And people did not like me for it. It's
Mhm.
funny. Humans are funny. They almost feel like they
Right.
want you to not accomplish and bring you down. I'm just sounding realistic. And only had a few
Mhm.
friends, actually two friends that were ever, and they're my two favorite seafoods I always bring up, but they were my
Mhm.
friends. And they were the ones who taught me the most and
Mhm.
wanted success for me. They were not,
Right.
where I see
Right.
selfishness now and all this. I do a
Yeah.
lot. I'm like, I can't stand it. That's why I like this one guy because I really feel he's not selfish. He's like, he actually cares. He actually cares. And that's how I feel.
Hmm.
I hope that comes across. I just care.
Right.
I
Right.
it's not,
You do
yeah,
very
it's not for my
much.
ego or anything. It's nothing. I I don't care about that. I don't need
Hmm.
to, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I'm balanced.
Hmm.
I don't care. Nothing's ever getting in the
Right.
way. The other thing I say about
Yeah.
myself is the school is you're just following me. This is my life. It isn't like I'm creating this thing so I can have people or people, look at me and go, "Oh,
Hmm.
you're great." No, no. This is just my life, but I'm sharing it. So instead of
Right.
maybe somebody
Right.
who is a hermit, and I don't want to be a hermit. So that's YouTube
Yeah.
is that's
Right.
where it's good for me. It's been really good for me.
Right.
But
Right.
this
Sure.
is YouTube, what we're doing. This is good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, go
Well,
ahead, honey.
and this is very social, right? Communicative, educational, which is air, and your Libra rising, which is air. So yeah.
I have to
Okay.
do it. Anyways, go
Hmm.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're gonna. I just want to go through the elements individually, and so what I'm hoping is that the viewers watching this will be able to see themselves in some of these things. And so, of course, unless you're like me, where you have like a ton of water in your chart, most people are going to see different aspects of themselves in these things. So, fire, um, the zodiac signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius.
So I have two of
And the
those.
house, right? Yes, you do.
Okay.
And the houses are 1, 5, and 9. And I just wanted to mention that in case people want to learn more about the houses, um, because where Mars is sitting, what particular house Mars is sitting in is going to have a major influence on what manifests in your life. So, um, but yeah, don't worry about that too much. But the houses do have elements and they carry the initial signature of the original template, which starts with Aries, right? Aries is the first zodiac sign with going all the way around to Pisces, right? Which is the last. So, but the overall qualities of fire are energized, right? Lots of energy. And so you can guess that Mars does really well in fire signs, okay? Activated, it's creative, it's bright, it's hot, it's projecting, it's visionary, right? It's a strategist, leader, and it's very competitive. Um, so with when you're looking at like roles, right? You're looking at leaders, strategists, fathers, benefactors, the head, right? Whoever's the leader, the CEO, the person who's doing the big picture. And so, um, okay, going over air next, we're talking about Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and the houses 3, 7, and 11. And the general qualities are it's very mental, it's intellectual, it's business, mercantile, social, it's about balance, justice, ideas, thinking, complex knowledge bases, and innovator. Okay. I should have also put on here the rebel. Okay. But that's an important aspect. Okay. Earth. Okay. Almost like the opposite, right? So we're looking at Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the houses 2, 6, and 10. And Earth is grounded. Okay. They're realists, they're traditionalists, they're sifters. Okay. So they're actually like kind of trying to get to the bottom of things. Planners, preservation, tried and true, right? Tactile, sensory, tangible, achievement oriented, and enduring. So these guys, Saturn is a part of this picture, and Saturn is very enduring. So, and then there's water, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Houses 4, 8, and 12. It's protective, responsive, flexible, deep, perceptive, aware, emotional, relaxed, I- ideals. Okay, so it's like what's the best, right? Or what's the optimum? Dreams, intuitive, the invisible, and spiritual. Okay. And so getting into the ideas of martial arts here, so going back to fire, getting a little deeper into it. So if you have strong fire element, especially with your Mars in fire. You want to be fast, okay? You want to shine. You might be loud, okay? You might even be sharp. You might like sharp tools, okay? Muscles, okay, is a very important part to fire. Blood, okay? You want to be in the spotlight. Competitions, you want to win, right? Youthful is a very important component to fire. You might be bold, you might be brash, expansive, and dynamic. So I just got a few pictures here. So, um, of course, fire, right? Head full of steam, motivated, especially self motivated. Combat is a really, really important aspect. A showman, okay, superstar, aggressive, like you want to get out there on that mat. Destructives, fire is very destructive, fast, flash in a pan, fighting in sport. So these are all, and I chose this little girl because she's red. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the presentation to work right. A lot of these are videos, and so they're doing things. So I'm sad that I wasn't able to get the video going.
I
Okay.
saw her.
Yeah, this cute little girl, she's doing some like really dynamic stuff. So, oh well.
Use your imagination.
Okay. Yeah, use your imagination. Okay, so air. All right. So, like we were talking, mental, intellectual, business, social, balance, justice. And so, like, if you have really strong air component and with your Mars and airs, you might be more like policemen where you're justice, like you want to keep the peace, right? Ideas, thinking, complex knowledge bases. And so that's a really interesting component to like Aquarius, innovator, a rebel.
So, so,
Okay. So that's where,
okay.
go on.
So the fire, so if you were born
Mhm,
with Mars in one of the fire
mhm, yeah.
zodiacs, then those
Mhm,
other areas might be something a little more to your connection to who you are. And then, for instance,
yeah.
here, and of course, again, we're saying everything isn't falling just on that, but we're just looking at
Right.
Mars. We're looking at the zodiac. We're
Right.
trying to make this as simple as possible,
Right.
and trying. And so this is interesting because air
Mhm.
is Libra, right?
Yes.
And Libra
Mhm.
is about justice. That's a big thing for
Mhm.
me. And
Yeah.
so here, cop. And I'd
Mhm.
say a lot of people wouldn't say a cop is a rebel, but I would. That
Hmm.
yeah, oh, very, very much. Like, let's say you go to
Hmm.
you have a family, big reunion, and it's like, well, what do you do? I work, computers. I do this. I'm a landscape artist. And then somebody says, I just graduated from police academy. You'd almost feel kind of like a rebel, like it's not the average person who goes
Mhm.
willing to put their life on the line, carry a weapon,
Mhm.
do justice and peace and all that, you know.
Right.
And so I would consider my heart says
Hmm.
that's interesting connection.
Well, and the,
I'm
the rebel
connecting it.
is largely like associated with like Uranus and Aquarius. And so they're literally like out of the box and your Uranus conjuncts your moon. And the moon has a lot to do with the mind and your emotions. And so for you, like you just think differently, no matter what. Like it doesn't really matter what any other placements, zodiac sign placements, and especially like the planets are really the most important. They really outweigh the zodiac signs. And so when you have a conjunction like that with two planets, so for you, no matter what, you're just going to think differently. You're just going to be out of the box. You're going to want to break the rules.
When
And
you're
and and see that, and that's what I mean by rebel. It's somebody who's a rule breaker. So
hmm,
um and okay, yeah. Um Okay, so outcast is another good term there. But it's interesting, and that's one of the fun things about air, is that it's really polarized. So you have the rebel outcast, but then you have like the cop, and 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 the rules. Okay,
but a
so
cop can break rules that you can't. I'm still
well,
sticking
that
to it.
that's fascinating. Yeah, that's a really
I'm
good
tying it together.
connection.
I'm telling you
I
because I've
like
been
it.
around a lot of police and
Right.
and families and people, and it's like
Yeah.
you feel, oh, there's a cop in the room, right? So you go, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I have to be good, but they don't.
Right.
I have a badge. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I love
Right.
cops.
Okay.
Fund
Right.
the cops. Okay, I said it. All right, let's go. And the fire
Yeah. Which
departments too,
we,
by the way. Anybody
well,
listening?
yeah.
All right.
Let's,
That's a sad
okay.
one. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. But teacher and vocal communicative, Libras is social more than anything, right? Innovative and mercantile. So people who have strong air element with martial arts as a big component might go into a martial art business. And I was kind of wondering, like Dana White, who's the is he the founder of UFC?
Yeah,
I'm not sure,
basically. Yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah.
he's the big business head of that
Yeah.
organization. I was like, I wonder if he has like a lot of air, you know. So, but anyways, really smart. But I had to come up like trying to come up with martial arts, in one of your algorithms, when you are in a physical duress threat situation, is to talk. That's one of your things.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
um, maybe it's not the algorithm, but it's been a strategy that you've shared with me over the years. Is to actually distract a little bit with your
Oh,
voice.
that. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and I
yeah.
thought of like trash talker, somebody who uses their voice as a weapon,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. One of the charts you asked me to pull up is Winston Churchill, and his Mars is in an air sign.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, and in the first house. Okay, so it means he really is embodying the archetype of the warrior and the superhero.
But people
So,
don't know his background when he was in the military and all that. He wasn't just the prime minister, and you just think of him
right,
then through the war and saying the Germans are coming, dumbasses, get ready. But anyways,
right,
go ahead. Yeah,
right.
interesting guy.
Um, So, and once again, I'm sorry for not being able to have the presenter work properly. Like
It's
this
all
guy's doing
right.
like a really, really cool aerial kick. So a lot of these pictures aren't going to make sense. But like, where Bruce Lee, he wore the yellow suit, um, saying he's breaking the rules, he's doing something that's completely different.
Right.
And so that's why I put there, the yellow suit, right? The rebel there. But
He
there's a
he was even
social
famous
element.
for one of the big things about him was broken rhythm. So breaking the
Yeah.
rhythm of things. So anyways.
Yeah. And that would be this guy's doing some weird
Yeah.
um what is it, capoeira,
Yeah.
is kind of a thing, and he's got the headset on, and so it's like a game there. Anyways, um I'm so sad. Like the air ones had really cool videos going on with all of this. But anyways, there's the class setting and the school setting, so that's important to know about yourself. Like in terms of martial arts, like maybe one of those reasons why you just can't get back into it when maybe you're looking to try and get back into it is because you need the social setting and you just haven't realized that about yourself. And so if you have a strong air component or like your Mars and airs, you may really need that school setting
Can I
to
just spoke to
be happy.
someone who I asked her how much she trains like by herself at home. She says she's never has in her
Hmm.
life. And she said she did
Right.
8 years of kung fu, right? And I said, "You've
Yeah.
never?" She goes, "No, I have to be in a social setting. I have to be with
Yeah.
people. I have to be at a school." And I
Yeah.
went, "Oh,
And that's great that she knows that about herself. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing too, like Gemini is education of small children. And so that might be another reason, like, if you have a lot strong air element, you're not just teaching, but you're teaching children. So that's like another interesting component to having like strong air. This guy, he's like bolting down the beach. I put him there because of the lungs. So this air. Okay. So Earth. So Earth is really interesting element. Um, because I think so much of martial arts is so earthy, so incredibly earthy, especially like kung fu, right? Which means hard work. But you had actually corrected me recently. You said it's not hard work; it's the achievement of hard work, right? Is that I think what you had said?
it's Yeah, the achievement of of energy, of putting
Okay.
energy into something. So, right.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's a very earth energy. Like you have this shoot. Okay, I thought I put the mute on. You have this result at the end of a really long period of hard work, and
Can
then
you
you
move
get
the
to the
cursor,
end.
honey? We move the
Oh,
cursor.
yeah.
I don't know if
Can
that's
you
going
see
to,
it?
that fixed it. Okay, there you go.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're seeing the overlay there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, so grounded, realist, traditionalist, and so like so much martial arts is entrenched in tradition, and that's where we're seeing the split these days of people wanting to get to the bottom of what works, right? And Bruce Lee was a big component of that, but and break away from what he called the classical mess, and that would be very earthy. But at the same time, what works is also very earthy, but the tradition, almost for the sake of tradition,
Hmm.
right, is going to be a really important component, especially like where you see like these family lines with martial arts, like the Yang style Tai Chi. That's very earth, right? Very traditional. Um, but tactile, sensory, tangible. Ooh, I can't see my thing anymore. Did I just close that?
No, it's
All right.
open.
Is
It's
it
still,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
it's on Earth.
Okay. I just did something on my screen and I lost like all of my visuals. Okay. Give me one moment here just to
Sure.
reboot.
What's interesting in the book that I'm listening to, which is
Yeah.
called, I'll give it a plug, The Tao of Wing Chun. Um,
Okay.
there was a point, well, it was very important for Chinese culture to keep the lineage
Yeah.
all the way back in like a written. And then there was a
Mhm.
point when the government would, you get in a lot of trouble, let's just say, who knows to what level. By having that, they tried to eliminate your lineage. And so this guy kept his all the paperwork in a I think as I recall, in a like a wooden stairs, like behind some like a secret little compartment. And finally, when the government loosened up, quote unquote,
Mhm.
that he was able to pull that back out and show his family. But he could have gone to jail or worse, or gone to the coal mines or death or just for keeping his heritage, his
Right.
lineage. But
Yeah.
I wonder what if he
Wretched.
was an wonder if he was a well, my point is it meant
Mhm.
so much that he was willing to give up his life to keep that
Mhm.
paperwork written,
Yeah.
literally written. I wonder if he was an earth if he had a lot of earth.
Right.
That's all I wanted to bring up. But
Sure.
other
Yeah.
than the
Interesting.
history that we take for granted of everything we
Sure.
do here and know, and people, it's insane, what
Right.
real tragedy and pain is about.
Right. Right. Exactly. No kidding. Agreed.
And how lucky we are to have
Wholeheartedly.
martial arts here. Nobody's taking it away. In fact, it's just, it's bigger than ever. And I'm like, huh. So,
Right.
so that's,
Yeah. But an interesting earth component is very hierarchical and wanting to be an authority figure. And so that might just be a reason why, um, you know, you need to be who you are, in martial arts. Maybe it's really important that you you work really hard at something, you achieve a certain status and a lineage, right? And that's important to you to have that role. And of course, here I'm choosing like Buddhist temple religion. Is also a component of earth. I didn't actually see that word written down. I should have, but this is why that's here. The Shaolin temples, right? And so they're Buddhist monks doing kung fu. And so that's a very earthy component. That's such a cool picture. I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, but yeah, these are all our pictures I stole of Shaolin monks off the internet. But military is, and of course that hierarchical element of the military is very earthy, right?
hmm.
And so of course I'm trying to get military people, with rocks and dirt. So that's what I was
That there,
doing
just leave
here,
that one up. Oh,
right?
there you go.
Yeah, and they're just it's freaking hard work, man. They're in the mud, they're sweating it, and they're doing what needs to be done, right? But achievement, right? And so that was another good picture
Huh.
there for achievement. I thought that's cool because that's like the zodiac wheel there, but with like the radar. I
Beep,
had
beep,
to
beep,
throw
beep,
that in
beep. All
there.
right. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, here we are, another military guy. Oh, vets, and especially like older people. And so there's going to be kind of like, depending on where you're at, like, where fire was youth, earth is the elderly. And so somebody like a vet is going to have a real strong earth element to that. Um, but yeah, religion here and tradition, that's kind of what I saw with these. That guy, he's wearing black. Black is an earth color. So that's why some of these people got thrown in there. But anyways, he looks very grounded there. So anyway,
Tai Chi
uh,
master. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and there he's on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Wearing black tradition. Like like if tradition is super important to you, you're going to have like a really strong earth component. Whereas like David is just, he wants to innovate, he wants to evolve, he wants to move things forward. And not that he doesn't have a strong earth element, but that's a much more an air, a little bit on the rebel, a little bit of an innovator there, right? And of course, winter here is a earth element as well. So foot soldiers, earth element. So yeah. All right, still got a lot for earth. Ground. Okay, here we go. Um, all right. Oh, history. History and tradition, super important. So like if you're really into like the old ancient weapons, you might have like a really strong earth component to this. But weapons are actually part of Mars and like very much associated with Aries, so there might be a dynamic there happening with those particular
Interesting. There's an
components in your
anvil
in your
there
chart.
to make the weapons that happens to
Yeah,
be there. Or that's a weapon
right.
into itself. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna do some lifting with that anvil and see how far you
No, I
can
was
throw
thinking of
it.
putting someone's hand on there and smashing. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It looks like our backyard. Oh, that's my closet. All right.
Right. Yeah, actually it is. Okay, so water, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and houses 4, 8, and 12. Um, Protective, responsive. And so like you might not really feel motivated to use your skill unless you feel under threat and duress. Like you're not going to go out there on the mat. You don't care. You don't want to go out there and be the superstar in the spotlight, in the cage, which is really a stage, right? You are doing it like to protect, to protect yourself, to protect the things that you love and care about. Um, and you're only going to do it if you respond, right? So flexible, deep, perceptive, aware, emotional. Um, I was thinking about like people who have really strong, water element. There's a sixth sense that I've read over the years. I wish I could remember what text it was that we as humans have supposedly forgotten, which is to know if somebody's looking at you. Something that when we were in the wild, we used to really have, like you knew somebody was looking at you. And I was thinking, I have that all, like I haven't lost that at all.
I
So,
think there's an app
uh,
for that, by the way.
a what?
An app?
An app
Yeah.
to
That's
know
a
if somebody's looking at you?
it's a joke.
Oh,
Everything's a freaking app. Let me get that
get out of
app.
here. Get out of
You
here.
you get out of here. By the
Yeah.
way, this makes me think, and I told you this, there was a guy who
Mm-hmm.
trained like 30 years at a boxing gym, but he never
Mm-hmm.
sparred. He never got in the ring, but he was like
Mm-hmm.
highly respected. His name was Sarge. And
Mm-hmm.
he just didn't want to fight, but he wanted to stay in, he was a vet and he wanted just to stay
Mm-hmm.
in shape and fast. And, he was
Mm-hmm.
like in his late 50s maybe, but he was still at the gym every day, go
Right.
and box. Wow.
Yeah.
He trained, he didn't
Interesting.
box. Yeah. So I wonder if
Right.
he's like, I'm just, I'm getting ready. I don't need to go, but I don't want to go, in unless provoked. I'm thinking of that. Strikes only when
Mm-hmm.
provoked. So
Right. Yes.
by the way,
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very,
Exactly.
very snake-like, very snake idea to
Mm-hmm.
me is
Mm-hmm.
is
Right.
chi and
Yes.
keeping things in
Yes.
until
Right.
only, yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or,
Totally.
or a cat.
Yeah. Right. Right. Stealth. Yeah. So water, yeah, no planning, by the seat of your pants. You're just going with the flow. You're going with your feelings. A lot of like uh, the monks, might also have a real strong water component. The Buddhist monks, the Shaolin Temple, because they're integrating spirituality with it. But spirituality, especially in astrology, is actually different from religion. It's like it's your personal connection with the divine, not dogma and the earthly structures, right, associated with spirituality, which we would call religion. But yeah, strikes when provoked, like a sidestepper. And I was thinking like maybe like five element or bakwa,
Yeah.
where you're doing these round steps, right? Roundabout, the art of fighting without fighting, like how do you want to work that one in your head? Okay, but and dance like. So there's very interesting water. Um, but also solo. Water's very solo. Pisces is very solo. Um, so yeah, be like water. These Tai Chi guys were so cool. I'm so sad the video, I didn't get to use that. This one
It's
was
all
really
right.
fun. They're doing like this, getting this earth energy thing going. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so everybody's asking this
It's so dumb.
grand ultimate question, like, what's the best martial art? And really, in the end, it's more about who you are, your nature, and what's the best martial art for you. Because there's literally anything and everything to satiate, to satisfy, to grow, right? To facilitate, to help you through your challenges, whatever they are, right? And so the whole point here of this video is to help you to understand that astrology can be a tool to help you to understand yourself so that you can be your best. And especially in terms of understanding your motivations, your needs, your desires, and your talents and your challenges. And astrology is incredibly revealing on all of that. Like it's amazing. So I do have like a short tutorial here if people want to learn how they can find their personal chart. Um,
Yeah, you need
should
your
we do
time of
that?
birth. No, no, no.
Oh, you don't want to do this? No?
Well,
Okay.
what do what?
I can just go over real quick. I was going to demonstrate, like, just take people through the few steps that it
Go
takes to
ahead.
pull up
Sure.
your,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
individual chart. Okay.
Yeah.
So I personally use AstroSeek a lot. At least I find myself gravitating towards it, more and more. It's just astro-seek.com. Then you want to click on the birth chart and then input your personal details. And so I have to stop the screen share here um, and then open up another one real quick. Okay.
Oh, you're going to go there.
Yeah.
Thinking of
All
anything I
right.
want to talk about here. It's funny. I'm going to actually do a video on what my whole belief is: tradition versus evolution, or tradition becoming evolution. So that's going to be a video coming up. Anybody that's interested, and talking about mixing different styles, um, really going to break some new ground and maybe upset some people because you go into new ground, people get upset and talk about some different ideas. I was even telling Teah I'm adding on to a form because there needs to be more in my book. And everything evolves. Phone is the best example. If you go back far enough, there used to be phones this big that would heat up like a firecracker and give you brain cancer. And now, phones are more powerful. Seriously, it was insane. Actually, I told you my friend used to carry this thing, a box around. I'm like, are you kidding? It was bizarre. I go, what's in there? He goes, and he carried it everywhere he went. I'm like, something wrong with you. But now phones, whatever. Nobody ever called them, and and it was like $5 a minute too. So yeah, that was crazy times.
Right. Yeah.
And then flip phones, and now, and whatever. Now they're surgically attached to your hand and to your ear. It's
Hmm.
just crazy. So things evolve. So why should
Hmm.
martial art or styles or systems or ideas not evolve too? It's just, and like I said, every time someone does something, they're evolving or devolving it on the way they do it. Nobody's doing it exactly the way the initial person. It's just, and boxers are different. It's still boxing. You say, oh, boxing, but every guy is different. Sugar Ray Leonard was totally different than Michael Sphinx
Mm-hmm.
or, Hitman. I forgot his last name, but they're all different. You know who was really different was um, Muhammad Ali. He was
Mm.
incredible. He was totally different. He created ideas, rope a dope, and all kinds of things. So, anyways,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
but
Okay. So, and we're going to go over some charts here in a minute. This will only take a moment, but you go to AstroSeek,
all right.
um, you go to birth chart, and actually, part of the reason why I'm choosing AstroSeek is when you put in your details, it actually comes up with a really generic horoscope. And when I read that horoscope, I hate it. It's I think it's not a very good read at all. But it will tell you where your planets are, what houses they're in, what zodiac signs they're in. You read the interpretations, really take it with a grain of salt because it's like astrology 101. It's like, you know, cookbook astrology, and I don't think it's very good astrology. But anyways, when you go to birth chart, it tells you a little bit here, planet signs, houses. We talked about that. Um, you go to your date of birth here, and if you don't know your time, we'll just stick with January 13th, 1970. You don't have to put your time. You just want to click unknown over here. You'll still get the zodiac signs, which is what we're talking about anyways. But the houses are really important. And that's just something that's great to explore down the road. And then you put in your birth city, and let's say it's Washington, D.C. Um, and you say calculate chart. And then it comes up here. And Mars, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Right. It's the circle with the little arrow. And of course, you saw that in my presentation. So this particular hypothetical person has Mars in Pisces. And this particular wheel doesn't have any of the house systems here. And if you click the print chart right here, it'll bring up this chart, which is, if you see here, fire, air, earth, and water, that funny little grid, 3 by 3 or 3 by 4 here. What those elements there is on the um, vertical axis there. And so you can see some of these things which we didn't talk about, like Lilith, right? That's the dark moon. And then there's Chiron here, which is in that fire. Those a lot of astrologers don't use it, some do. But you'll want to look here and see how like this particular chart has a lot of earth in there. And so that'll give you a clue as to your overall makeup. But of course, Mars there, it shows it's in a water sign. Um, and you can see that there in the lower right quadrant. So if we're zooming in here on this,
I see
um,
it.
yeah. And so that would be the chart that we're looking at to kind of give yourself a makeup and see here, this person has like hardly any air. So they're going to be very fire, um, with a little bit of water, but earth is the dominant
See,
characteristic there.
well, that's not bad.
Yeah. And see what's interesting too, of course, like I mentioned, the primal triad, which is your sun, moon, and rising. If you don't know the time, you're not going to get your rising sign, but you'll know where your sun and moon is. And this person has their sun here in a green sign, so that's the earth. That's Capricorn right there. So they're going to be really thoughts, grounded thoughts, just practical, what works, and
Their
very
moon is in
motivated
Aries.
to produce. Yeah, with an Aries moon. Yeah, and that's interesting. So this person might be very motivated to achieve, because the moon is a lot of how you are on the inside, your emotions, but it's where your mind is at. But your sun too is also a lot of where your consciousness and your thoughts get directed. So it's very interesting. So this person is like, a lot of fire and earth there, and their Mars being in a water sign. So even a potentially balanced person, right? Maybe once you kind of work out through some of those like conflicts of life, right? When you realize that you have a lot that you're kind of dealing with when it comes in terms of different energies.
All right, cool.
So anyways, yeah. So we can transition now
Yeah, that'd be great.
to people's charts. Um, and so this is Bruce Lee's chart. You can see up here. And his chart's super fascinating, but his Mars is in a water sign, Scorpio. And not just that, but his Mars is conjuncting Venus and his moon and Mercury is also there. So he has a stellium, what's called a stellium. It's anytime you have four planets in a sign. And so he's really strong on the waterfront. But it's just interesting how so much of what he spoke about was about water, being like water, the art of fighting without fighting, and how much he was into just being really responsive and ready. But yet his sun is in a fire sign there. So his chart is just really fascinating on that level.
All righty.
Okay, no comments. No thoughts about Bruce Lee.
Love him. I
All
grew up,
right.
we grew up where I was there when he was
Right in
doing
Seattle.
his thing in Seattle. Yeah, studied under his a
Hmm.
lot of his students, and just the whole
Yeah.
thing. His grave is there. His grave is there,
Yeah.
and all that. And just I was,
Hmm.
it's just interesting being there during that time, going to his movies when they first came out. And I went with my
Right.
father to a little Japanese movie theater, but they were playing Bruce Lee stuff. And
Yeah.
when it first came out, the Chinese Connection, I was just like, it was incredible. Just who is this guy,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody went crazy. His influence still, why we're doing him number one, is just
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
I don't know if the chart tells us that, but something, his influence has been it'll probably
Well,
never end. It'll never
he has
end.
Neptune in the 10th house. Neptune is film and the illusion, which is one reason why um, film, because right, film is fake, right? It's
Hmm.
just a representation.
Right.
But he has in the 10th house, which is the house of career. So it's very interesting that he has that influence there.
He was
Yeah.
able to, he did influence the world. It's still, it's insane.
Hmm.
But he
Yeah.
was able to show real and not real at the same time in his movies. Because you watch
Right.
him, you go, the guy's like, he's
Hmm.
a killer or whatever you want to call it, not,
Right.
just unbelievable, even though it was Hollywood and or movie wood. And, um,
Right.
but you could still see that it wasn't just some people hanging on wires swinging us, he he pushed things so much further. So really
Right.
incredible.
Right.
But he also grounded
Yeah.
things at the same time by saying this just stuff is bullshit, this and
Yeah.
that. And so he brought that
Right.
to the world too. He's
Yeah.
a punch a heavy bag. He didn't just do stuff in the air. He knew what he had to do
Hmm.
to for
Yeah.
reality.
Right.
So,
He
anyways,
wasn't just doing forms, right? And forms would be that structure component,
yeah, yeah,
very,
no,
very earthy component. Yeah.
no. And,
Right.
and as I say, I think the computers. Oh, it's oh.
You were fine until you did whatever you did. Anyways, I'll go ahead and move on while you get resituated there. So this is Mike Tyson. And see here, Mike Tyson has his
Sorry about that.
Mars in Gemini. And so that's what I was saying. Like if when you get your chart, if you scroll down here on AstroSeek, it says here, Sun is in Capricorn, so you don't have to know what the signs are. The Moon is in Aries, right?
I
So
could
you just
see
want to
it.
scroll down to here and see Mars and Pisces. Yeah, if you don't know the symbols,
Yeah, it's
but
pretty
see
straightforward.
here, yeah, the gray here on AstroSeek is air. Um, So you see here his Mars is in Gemini, also in the 10th house. So it's very interesting, right? With Mars being the warrior, um, and the 10th house is your career. So I would definitely say that's a pretty major component to why, he was a boxer or is a boxer. Because he did that fight recently. So,
Yeah, let's not go there. No, 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 no. We don't talk about that.
hey, he's doing it still, and
Let's put it
actually
this way.
that
Let's put it this way to all the clowns who make fun of him or whatever. Get in the ring with them.
yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
I would for
yeah, no,
20
thank
million.
you.
No, I don't know.
For
Anyways.
20 million. Yeah.
What
But
if someone said
anyways,
20 million and you get to go against him, right? What doesn't matter? Okay, so who cares?
yeah. Yeah. But look, he has a sun in Cancer, and so especially to me, the sun is the self, and Cancer is very protective. And so um and the 11th house is your gains from your effort, from your work. And so he profited off of protecting himself. It's really
Hmm.
fascinating how like all of these things come into play here. um so okay, moving on. um this is, oh, Itmon. Let me see here. Here's the better chart. And so this is, like I was saying, like if you don't know the time, then you're not going to know the house system. And that's where, like, we're seeing with both Mike Tyson and Bruce Lee, they have planets in their 10th house. So that's going to contribute pretty strongly to how they're known in the world and their career. With Itmon, we don't have that information. But what's really interesting is you can see here his Mars is in an Earth sign, so that's Virgo there, and then he has like a lot of air here. That's the South Node, so you don't need necessarily to worry about that. But Mercury, Saturn, and the Sun in Libra. And then he has a lot in Gemini here. He has a stellium. So 4 planets. So he has like, oh my goodness, he has so much air. Look at that, 7. And so it's interesting. He's known as being a teacher, but he must have been very talkative. He must have really liked talking. He must have really liked being a teacher. So it's interesting, like, how we can try and extrapolate a little bit here.
I think he
What
died
kind
of
of
lung
man he was.
cancer,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
interesting.
air. Yeah, what he smoked. I mean, a lot of people smoke.
The death can be seen through the fourth and the eighth house, and we don't know those, but it would be interesting, right? If Gemini or Libra was, um, you know, uh,
But here's a getting a little
those
weird.
houses.
Maybe the way he spoke, because he's as popular as Bruce Lee, being,
Right.
his teacher for 3 years or whatever it was, but still the
Mhm.
importance of Wing
Yeah.
Chun, and then
Hmm.
through
Right.
Bruce Lee, through the world, the people going
Hmm.
crazy about this stuff still, which blows my mind. I had no
Hmm.
idea until I got back on YouTube and saw the
Yeah.
insanity of what's going on
Yeah.
there. And
Right.
I had no idea. And so he's still speaking through Wing Chun.
Hmm.
Forget Bruce Lee, just through him, lineages
Right.
and people talking for him. So it's like his word, or it's still continuing through other
Right.
people's mouths. We're talking about him.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Very, very fascinating.
yeah.
And and then let's see here. This is Winston Churchill. And so he was a Libra rising, with Mars in Libra and in the first house. And so the first house is really important because it's like it's your body, it's this incarnation, it's how you're manifesting in the world. And so being talkative, balance, justice, fairness, um, you know, politicians. Yeah.
Libra,
And so he has,
Libra rising.
yeah.
Then he was good
Hmm.
looking too.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's
Actually,
me. All right, all right, all right.
uh, Libras are known to be beautiful. So yes.
Wow.
But he has
And
Mars there
humble.
in the first house. So yeah, just totally fascinating, because he is known to be a warrior. And so anytime you have planets in the first house, it's really going to affect how you present in the world and how you operate in the world. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. And then so that's all I have prepared as examples.
Are you going to use mine?
Yes. I mean, as far as famous people go,
Hmm.
but one of the
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
fun.
whoa.
I
I'm
mean, you're not
famous.
famous yet, yet.
I
You're
think
getting there.
I'm very famous.
Yeah.
I'm not famous
Um,
Amos with his chocolate chip cookies, but hey,
uh, but we can share our charts because it's fun because the best people we know are ourselves. We can really only extrapolate. In terms
know
of
thyself.
yeah.
Maybe.
Um, all
We
right,
can.
here, okay.
Who's that?
I can't actually see what I just shared. Let me pull it up here.
It
Oh, okay.
says,
Okay, this is my chart. So,
I
okay,
knew
here's your
that.
chart. Yeah, here's your chart. And so,
Oh,
your Mars is right up here in the 10th house, in Cancer. And so, of course, Cancer is more than just protecting the self. It's also like your country, your home. And you care very much. You're very motivated to teach people how to care for themselves and to care for their families and
it's
their
all I care
homes.
about. That is what I care
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. And so it's very interesting that is what you are motivated to do.
Huh.
And what's interesting is like when you're talking about the qualities, right? Mars is considered to be in fall in Cancer. And that has to do with like them kind of being a little bit of opposites. Mars is all this gusto in general. It does, you can almost associate Mars because Mars, the planets don't actually have elements, but you could closely associate it. Like there's a lot of synergy with fire, you know. And so fire and water, sometimes they go okay together, but sometimes they're just opposites. One is cooling down the other, or you know what I mean? They're the way they interact with each other is a little bit um, counter to each other. But you have that grand trine. And so the aspects and the relationships can just completely have a total
But
change on the energy.
we
So
do talk about life being the life gate is actually the fire within water of the kidneys, the Ming Men.
yeah, yeah. And,
So
and honestly, a lot of these things
I
where
don't
it's in
know if they're,
fall detriment,
yeah,
exalted and all of that, it's a little bit judgy. It's to me, because if you really just look at the energies pure, then it's like you're the warrior for the home. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that, um, Mars is having a hard time because he's just swamped in emotion. You know what I
mm,
mean? And Cancer is very emotional. And so that's where they're like, there's this kind of, you could say a more challenging aspect or a more frictional aspect. So, but yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. And plus, you have that great, beautiful grand trine. You lucky duck, you. So, yeah.
it's not about luck.
but grand trines are blessings. Like they're like super duper blessings. Things come easy, especially as it relates to those things in the chart. And so for David, that's like I'd say that's one reason why he's such a great martial artist and why he studied so many different martial arts and how he can take those components of all those different martial arts and put them into a new way of understanding them, into a new system and a new way of looking at them, because that's a blessing, that's a talent that you have. So
I would say
yeah.
my blessing to myself is I've allowed myself to do that. Where people think they can't break away
Hmm.
from tradition, whatever that even means. I don't even know what tradition, you know what I mean? We get locked in the word tradition. What does it mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. What is tradition? What is evolution? That's going to be the next thing I talk about. So we're talking about it
Hmm.
here. So, but I've allowed
Yeah.
myself to break away, and I feel good about it. By the way, it's
Yeah.
very liber,
Yeah.
liberating, liberating. Think
Hmm.
about the liberating.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm. That makes sense. No, I'm being serious.
Right.
I mean, I'm joking, but not really. Anyways,
Yeah.
Okay, let's see
Yeah.
the Grand Masters.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Of course
Oh,
I
this
am.
is a wrong Campanus. See, and there are different house systems. That's something I didn't go to, but this is the Campanus house system. So this is whole sign. This is primarily what I use and what I'm learning in right now. So yeah, this is me. And so this is where I have like a whole lot of water, Cancer rising, four planets in Pisces, my midheavens in Pisces. But then I have a lot of mutable and cardinal energies, which are the modalities. But I have a lot of Libra too, and so that's like where Dave and I have like a lot of crossover in how we see the world. So yeah, that's interesting. But those are the social planets, Saturn and Jupiter. Those are the planets and that symbolize how you're interacting. I'm sorry, how you affect society and how society is affecting you, basically.
So where's your
Um,
Mars? Oh, I see. It's up
it's
there.
it's all the way up
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
yeah, in the
yeah.
ninth house in Pisces, yeah, and see how there it's conjuncting my sun, and my sun is conjuncting my moon, and it's really like short, a tight conjunction there with Venus and my moon. So um, technically, my Mars is combust in the Vedic system, which is supposed to mean like I don't have a very good motivation, which I don't think is it's not true at all. But I have had a lot of challenges in relation to my energy and my motivation. And it has a lot to do with that square, that nasty square between my Mars and Neptune here. Anyway, so that's another fun thing there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's but yeah, Mars is my Atmacarica planet. Like I was mentioning, Saturn is yours. So Mars is my purpose in coming to this world, in this
Hmm.
incarnation.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah. And it's conjuncting my midheaven. So
Okay.
yeah.
All righty.
Anyway.
Yeah. Hopefully we haven't lost everybody, but you never know. Or
Well, you know
or
what?
they're gripping on the edge of their seat for the next, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't
I was
know.
gonna say that this is to me like a fun experiment. We'll see like how popular this content is or isn't.
I,
So
to me, it doesn't matter. That's my attitude.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
be, it's just like we're doing what we want to do. And
Yeah.
this is what I
Right.
wanted. So thank you for but you went a
Yeah.
thousand times X more than I thought we were going to kind of go over or do or putting together all of
Right.
this. So, like I
Yeah.
said, you're making me look bad with my raw and unedited. This is raw, by the way. No, we rehearsed this 100 times now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I want to do it again. Have some other
Yeah.
topics, or we can do more of this. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if any,
Yeah.
who knows? You throw it in the air and see where it
Right.
lands. But this is
Right.
super
Yeah.
cool to me. Super, super cool.
Yeah.
So
Thanks. I'm
yeah.
happy to do it. I hope it was helpful to some people, and fun.